Film brings its energy, its glamour, its youthfulness, its appeal to so many, but it must complement all the other arts, the architectural heritage, the performing arts, the fine arts, the printmaking, the educational facilities, the theatre, the drama, the diplomatic world, the political world, and now which people fail to forget, Delhi is bigger than Bombay financially. It is also the financial hub, even though the stock market is not here. It has that purchasing power now second to none. So all these things together cannot be surrendered to any one force. It cannot be surrendered to any one idea or value system. So the only way Delhi can emerge is by absorbing the best that cinema has to offer, create a space for cinema which brings out the interrelationships, and that leads to a second major point of, apart from the material infrastructure, the more important, far more important, is the atmosphere, the cinematic culture, the culture in which we function, the atmosphere in which we are allowed to provoke, as Shekhar said, allowed to be free, allowed to break rules, to have the excitement, to have the energy that this is something which is unique. It has confidence like no other place in the world, that every facility is at my disposal. No one in the world has a greater asset base on which to build. And with that, the cinematic culture emerges because it interrelates with the fine arts, it interrelates with music, philosophy, drama, theatre, literature, all the arts simultaneously, because that is what great cinema is. And India does not, let us be very clear, whatever anyone may say, India does not have a great cinematic culture. She has a great passion and love for cinema. One is a stepping stone for the other, necessary but not sufficient. And therefore, a whole host of activities need to follow for that step to be taken, where India is respected on its own terms on the global arena. Today, no one should be seeing anything at a local, regional, national level. We all are part of one simple world, which is put in one simple document, and we all are competing against everything. We are influenced by everything. And any standard less than a global standard is nothing but short-termism, is short-sightedness, and will lead to haddockism. So it's imperative we start changing our mindsets on those levels. So coming to the next point, and a very valid point that was raised, of building the ecosystem. At the end of the day, a great atmosphere, a great infrastructure requires holistic, integrated, cohesive movement. People need to move in the same direction with 100 different thoughts, with many contradictions, but those contradictions need to be merged. Those contradictions need to flow like one great river. Now that requires so many things which are unseen, the intangibles, the things which are in the atmosphere. It's like the blessings of your mother or your father. They are fighting your battles even though you don't see it. They are allowing you to sustain it when everything else is falling apart in the material. So similarly, a great civilization requires this intangible atmosphere within, below, above. And for building that, we had so many points which were, I wrote these down just a few minutes ago, I'll tell them. First of all, as mentioned earlier, today and yesterday, Delhi and most of India has more than enough infrastructure. It has too much material infrastructure, which is totally underutilized, which is totally redundant, and is dead. Most of our museums could not inspire a dog to pee in front of a lamppost. They need to be transformed. They need to be re-energized, and they need to be interrelated with other facets of life which build what they once foresaw they wanted to do. Today they are not serving that objective. They are in archaic time warps, and they need to radically be changed. Without that transformation and the wealth that you save, and more than the wealth, the morale that you will change. You've got some of the finest minds in public administration, in our government. People, when I came back to India, some of the most idealistic people were our public administrators and bureaucrats. And I was so surprised because everyone used to criticize them. The youth didn't have that idealism. With the experience and the understanding that first the country comes, then the individual comes. So in our public administration, the idealism is there. but the system has totally bound them down into a kind of mediocrity which is now unsustainable. And the institutions which exist is perpetuating that forward. So the first thing is, let's start transforming our existing institutions to take on a greater interdisciplinary responsibility. Now that is difficult because it requires bringing contradictory forces in one space and telling you not just coexist, but appreciate, understand each other, and transform each other to become better. Next, the whole nature of what we promote in Delhi. Is it mainstream cinema? Is it independent cinema? Is it documentary filmmaking? Is it an amalgam? Is it something that we still have not foreseen? Is it something rooted in the ecosystem of Delhi, which so far the infrastructure has not been able to build to the surface? These required, and again mentioned by Muzaffar, a very clear conceptual plan. And this conceptual plan has to be on a grand scale. We're not talking of Delhi as a film city, we're talking of Delhi as one of the world's greatest cultural hubs. This requires embracing everything. Nothing remains out of it. So when you have that all-encompassing vision, your conceptual framework has to be robust, and it has to include every facet of infrastructure building. Then we have this whole concept of art as a cinema as the umbrella. Easier said than done. Look at the cinema today. Where are the great musicians, artists, scriptwriters, philosophers, dancers performing in cinema today? Where are they giving their energy? You can choose maybe 5 films in the year where you see the attempt by the directors and the producers to bring the best of all the arts through cinema. There. And unless that happens, you're not going to become a leader in filmmaking. It's not ever going to happen. Then the integration, so that's linked to the whole process of the umbrella. Then the nature of skill sets, which we all discussed. Does Delhi actually have a skill set? Does it have the talent pool? If they do have a talent pool, is this talent pool skilled enough to institutionalize themselves so that they can become an industry? Are they capable of working together in a systematic way which serves a larger infrastructure building vision? Or are they just pockets of fragmented individuals who are fighting a system and slowly giving up and saying, I must go to Bombay or I must go elsewhere? So the nature, just because we have talented people in Delhi, does not make it a skilled technical force which can build an industry. That requires a totally different infrastructural push. Then we have the point, which again Shekhar raised, which I think is very relevant. The iconic image of cinema is dead. Cinema is on this. Anyone. So what is the purpose of the cinema we are trying to take forward? It is, in my view, that millions and millions of Indians become filmmakers. That is, no other country in the world can do that. No center, no Cannes, no Berlin, no Venice can come up and say, we are producing 20 million filmmakers. That is what India can do. And when you've got the energy of 20 million filmmakers all doing what they are doing, you've got something irreversible. Everyone will follow, everyone will tell. It doesn't matter whether your film works, is a hit, is not. We are producing. That energy of production does not require resources from others. It does not require even the blessings of anyone. It's your creative energy and pushing that creative energy so that the momentum builds up. And therefore cinema automatically will get transformed with that kind of exposure and creativity. Then the whole point about the underbelly. That great art comes from having this underground underbelly, like Paris in the 30s, London for music in the 60s, and so on. Delhi can never have a great underbelly. And if it does, the political, diplomatic ecosystem will have to fundamentally change. So we have to understand, can Delhi facilitate great underground movements in pockets? Of course it can. And therefore, more than Delhi as a film city, as Bobby Bedi told me some days ago, is Delhi as a great gateway to North India, to Kashmir, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Northeast India, all these places which have not been able to build the dialogue with Bombay. Delhi is the hub that opens these dialogues. The Northeast is waiting everywhere you go, from Manipur to Nagaland to every street corner to everywhere. There are young people waiting to make films, play football and make films and go to music and drugs. The drugs and music will disappear, go underground as long as the cinema and football comes to the surface. Same in Kashmir, same in Himachal. So Delhi can be that great platform, that launching pad, that integrative force to say India needs, please understand, at least